Come one, come all to learn and grow. Welcome to the Village Talk Show. Come one, come all to learn and grow. Welcome to the Village Talk Show. We discuss what people need to know, empowering them to learn and grow. We discuss what people need to know, empowering them to learn and grow. Give praises to Jehovah, from whom all blessing and knowledge will flow. Blessing and knowledge will flow. The Village Talk Show, dedicating to empowering the community to live a healthy, safe, and financially capable life, helping each one of us in realizing our dream at any age, any point, starting from today, day. Success. Come one, come all to learn and grow. Welcome to the Village Talk Show. Come one, come all to learn and grow. Welcome to the Village Talk Show. We discuss what people need to know, empowering them to learn and grow. We discuss what people need to know, empowering them to learn and grow. Success is not spoken, it is done. Success is done. Come on now. The Village Talk Show. Talk Show. The Village Talk Show.
Good evening, everyone. Let me turn up this mic here. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Village Radio Talk Show. I am Roderick Daly. I am your host. We're starting a little bit early today because we have a long show waiting for everyone this evening. We have two dynamite guests coming on today. One is our Congresswoman Yvette Clarke. The other is Pastor Guilford Monroe from the mayor's office. So a lot of you have been expressing issues about violence, gun violence, migrants, the war on the Gaza Strip. So we're trying to make sure that all of you have the opportunity to hear about everything that is happening within our community, on a national level, and everything that's happening on the local level as well. There's some big things happening next year within our city, our state, and our country. And so our job is to walk you through it, let you know what's happening. And so we're thankful of that. All right, so commercial. We're brought to you by Footprints.
Footprints Cafes now offers Caribbean flatbreads, available in 11 mouthwatering flavors, including favorites like jerk chicken, curry chicken, honey garlic chicken or shrimp, ackee and saltfish, garlic cheese, and more. Our flatbreads are satisfying and can be enjoyed by the entire family. So make it a flatbread night at Footprints and enjoy the fusion of flavors. These flatbreads are so good, you might just have to fight for that last piece. Good thing there's plenty more where that came from. Get yours today from any of our Footprints locations. Want to enjoy your flatbread at home? Then order on Uber Eats and get it delivered right to your door. We'll see you there.
And the ASD. Yeah, go.
Call Howard Housing Solution today for all your real estate needs. Sellers, we can get top dollar for your home, and our vast network of professionals can facilitate your move and help you purchase your dream home in another state. Buyers, we have a pulse on the market and can get you in a home quickly. Property owners, we can manage your property efficiently and allow you peace of mind. So why wait? Call Howard Housing Solutions today at 646-825-5560 for your sale, purchase, or property management needs. Conveniently located in East New York, Brooklyn. You can come to us at 577 New Lots Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, or we can visit in the comfort of your home. Call Howard's Housing Solutions today at 646-825-5560. Howard Housing Solutions. Real estate simplified.
All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Grace Family Adult Social Daycare. We'll be opening up every Tuesdays and Thursdays moving forward, starting next week, for those people who want to come in and register. If not, you can call 646-504-5778. Again, that's 646-504-5778. You can also email us at gracefamilyadult@gmail.com. Visit the website at www.gracefamilyasd. I know the flyer says Grace Family Adult, Grace Family ASD care.com. Again, for all your seniors coming out there, we're very excited, and for you to come out, for them to enjoy a good opportunity to enjoy their day and the likes. So thank you. Looking forward to seeing you all starting next week, Tuesday from 10 to 2. The doors will be open for anyone who's interested in coming by and getting some information. Good evening, Congresswoman.
Good evening. Can you hear me, Rudy?
Yes, I can. How's everything going? So it's really excited. You get the whole start of the show, the whole everything, because you get everything started right away. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, who are watching. This is the Village Radio Talk Show. I'm Roger Daly. I'm your host. Our co-host, Congresswoman, is not going to be in studio today because his daughter just passed the bar. So,
congratulations! Another attorney.
Yeah. So another attorney. So he's very excited. So he's not going to be here. Congresswoman and Dr. Brian will be joining us shortly. So very excited for everyone. Please, how are you doing? How is everything going, Congresswoman?
Well, I'm blessed and highly favored. The Lord woke me up this morning in my right mind, just in time to observe and engage with the craziness that's happening on Capitol Hill.
You know what? Let's get into that. Jim Jordan, as of 11:03 this morning, decided that he was not going to run again for Speaker. But before we even get to that point, right? I'm curious. I'm not in Washington. A lot of people are not in Washington. Why did the Democrats, I asked you the tough question to start, why did Democrats say, let the Republican House figure it out themselves? And they said they're not voting for the Republican candidate, even if Kevin McCarthy was a good choice, or Scalise was a good choice, or Jim Jordan, which I'm glad Jim Jordan didn't get it. I'm very happy about that. But walk us through the thought process a little bit for the listeners out there who don't understand the voting process.
Sure. So, the selection of the Speaker is based on who has the majority of the seats in the House of Representatives. And as of January 2023, the Republicans took the majority of the House by 4 seats. And so they are the governing majority of the House of Representatives. The leadership of the Democratic Party is led by the Honorable Hakeem Jeffries of Brooklyn, New York. And we, as Democrats, support him to become the Speaker of the House. When it became evident that the Republicans were gearing up, particularly some of the Republicans that maybe some of your listening audience have heard about, like Congressman Matt Gaetz of Florida, that he was going to invoke one of the rules of the House, which is to vacate the chair. And it only takes one person under the rules adopted by the Republican majority to call for a vote to vacate the seat of the speaker, that became a rallying call, as far as we were concerned as Democrats, for the Republican Party to come together to preserve its leadership and majority. As was publicly seen, they chose not to do that. The Democrats have an obligation to the people. And we have worked under the leadership of Kevin McCarthy for the past 9 months prior to his ouster. And he made it abundantly clear to Democrats that he was not interested in supporting the communities that we represent, that he was going to do everything within his power and within his majority to stand in the way of any policies that would enhance and uplift the lives of the, as we see it, the American people. So throughout the last 9 months, we have been battling over issues like the removal of diversity, equity, and inclusion programs from the federal government. We have been battling against a women's right to choose, for which, you know, in the Senate, we have a Republican senator who's holding up the nominations of our military leadership over. We have been battling over the funding required to incentivize and to spark new housing start, so that we can get the housing stock in place that we need, the affordable housing stock in place that we need. These individuals were not interested in policies. They were interested in politics, and they were interested in making life as difficult as possible for the people that we represent. So why would we, as Democrats, support and encourage that type of behavior? It became very clear to us early on in this election cycle, in this session, that these weren't individuals who were there to govern in a bipartisan manner. And these were individuals who were there with a hatred for governance. They're there for a whole host of other reasons, to lift up their presidential nominee, which is Donald Trump, and to utilize the levers of government to justify what they all did in voting against certifying the election of Joe Biden, in establishing a special subcommittee on the weaponization of the federal government, on a whole host of really distasteful and hatred-laced agenda to not only make sure that President Joe Biden fails, but make sure that our communities feel the pain of that. There's no way that we could have supported Kevin McCarthy. All of that said, he never asked for the help of Democrats. As a matter of fact, he went on television after we basically, in a bipartisan manner, in a show of good faith, made sure that the federal government didn't shut down. Right. The last vote that was cast under his leadership was to keep the federal government open under what we call a continuing resolution that kicked the can down the road till November, the second week, the third week of November. So we're back where we started when he was ousted, and it's up to the Republican Party now to get its act together, to get its unity in place to govern. That's not the responsibility of the Democratic Party. We have our leader. We have supported him unanimously for over 18 votes now. He has gotten the entire Democratic caucus behind him with the vote of 212 members of Congress. Now, you may have seen the numbers going up. At this stage, Hakeem Jeffries has received more votes than
Mhm.
any of the candidates, save Kevin McCarthy, for Speaker of the House.
So bringing it to Rep Jeffries from Brooklyn. You're actually you neighbor actually in Congress
My
too.
dear brother and colleague.
Yeah. I mean, when I say your neighbor, I mean like you
Yeah,
represent
the neighboring district,
yeah,
yes.
neighboring district. Um, One, do you have any idea with Jim Jordan now stepping down? Matt Gaetz will never win. Um, uh, Steve Scalise is out. Jim
They
Jordan is,
they
and
mentioned
then
some of the Carolinas.
Well,
McHenry.
let me bring you up to date, Rudy Daly, as I'm
uh,
here in Washington. We've been waiting around all day because indeed Jim Jordan has changed his mind and will be calling for a vote for
Again?
again.
Oh
We
my
we
God.
thought it would
the
be
fourth
called
vote.
at some point today. We have been in recess in the House, subject to the call of the chair of the House, and right now, as it stands, we've been given notice that Jim Jordan will be going to the floor at 10 a.m. tomorrow to seek another round of votes to become Speaker of the House.
So
Mm.
this is his fourth. And the last vote I heard he was short by about 50, right? He was about short by about 50
No,
votes,
he was short by 21 votes.
21 votes. Now, Kevin McCarthy did, I think, two things wrong. Like it's almost the proverbial selling of your soul, right? He made it easy for them for Matt Gaetz
Mhm.
to Representative Matt Gaetz from Florida to oust him by saying you only need one person to get up and vote in favor of calling the election. Now, Matt Gaetz had the support of seven other um, Republicans. So, two questions. One, Jim Jordan doesn't get the 21 votes, which is likely.
He may lose even more votes from what we're hearing.
Right. So you might lose the votes. Who Akeem Jeffries' name keep coming up, but he'll never win because Republicans are not going to vote for him to be speaker. Not to mention, he won't have a full governing body because as the chair, as the speaker of the House, he has certain decisions that he can make that he will not be able to make because he's hampered by the fact that he will never go in with full support as any leader would do. Who do you think, or is it too premature to think? Who do you
It's
think
too
will go?
premature. I mean, we're really dealing with an internal battle within the Republican Party. We don't know who will survive this in the end. And, it is quite possible that a bipartisan coalition could be developed in order to govern the nation at this stage. And I believe in the end that's exactly what's going to happen. And of course, that will be negotiated by our leader, Hakeem Jeffries, with the input of the membership of the Democratic caucus. However, we've not crossed that Rubicon yet, and what we're experiencing here in Washington has never happened before. I don't want to keep using the term "this is unprecedented" because we're in truly unprecedented times, but it is. So we're basically making it up as we go. There's no rule book for what we're experiencing right now. We have not been able to bring any legislation to the floor of the House for a vote because there can be no votes until there is a speaker's vote and a speaker is elected. So we are really in a state of paralysis right now. Some of our colleagues, who are chair people of committees, have decided to hold oversight hearings, but that's just to cover for the fact that they are, they're fighting within their own conference, that they're not getting anything done for the American people, for their own constituents, and that they have yet to grow up enough to put their differences aside, to put the people ahead of their politics so that we can govern during some very perilous times.
It,
Um,
it's it's
go
it
ahead,
seemed
Dr. Wright.
as though it was a setup for shutdown. They wanted the whole. It seemed as though their agenda was to shut down the United States from making sure that the military, the funding. They were upset that he voted, um, and gave an extension, but their goal is to try to shut down Biden and anything he wants to push or any agenda at all. Their goal on our end looking in is as though they want the United States to fail, to say, hey, this is who you voted for. And like you mentioned, the immaturity, forgetting about everyone's lives that's attached to this. And we had a discussion last week that if their income was attached to the government not running effectively, I wonder if they would hesitate in taking their time and not taking people's need, not looking at Social Security, the military, and everything else coming apart if their income was tied to it. And I doubt that.
Well, let me say a couple of things.
Mhm.
What you are seeing is a manifestation of infighting. Everyone in the Republican conference are not united in the way that the Democrats are.
Mhm.
We have been very mature throughout. We're not monolithic. We're very diverse as a conference, as a caucus. From conservative Democrats to extremely liberal Democrats, the Democratic Socialists, right, within our conference. But Hakeem Jeffries has been able to lead our conference, uniquely during a time like this. The Republicans have a different problem. They have a problem that emanates from a segment of their population that is tied very closely to Donald Trump and the insurrection,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
And then they have a group within the group that are just plain conservatives, right? And they don't mind governing. And then you have a group of Republicans, 18 of them, that were elected in constituencies that President Joe Biden won. So they can be kicked to the curb at any point in time, right? 18 of them. And so what you have are differences of opinion. Now, let me say this. We're dealing with extreme MAGA, right?
Yes.
We're dealing with extreme MAGA, and they have taken the Republican Party hostage, and
Yes.
they've essentially destroyed it. I don't think that the Republican Party will ever come back in the form that we all sort of grew up with. This is going to be a newly constructed Republican Party. And I don't know that one election even takes us to that point, but we've got to get closer and closer to electing people that are interested in governing, not being quasi celebrities, not being all over social media and Fox television, spewing hatred and bigotry, but people who understand that in governing, there's compromise. And, yeah, you may be in the majority, and certainly the majority rules, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be able to steamroll the minority, particularly when your majority is so thin. So it only takes 4 defections in order for us to govern in the House of Representatives. And so, what we've been saying is that, we want to see the grown-ups stand up. And we're beginning to see some spine developing, particularly in the New York Republican delegation, because these individuals recognize that they're extremely vulnerable. And, they came in riding the MAGA wave, but they don't have the stomach to tolerate what MAGA is offering. And so they're beginning to defect now. And they're beginning to step into their strength and ability to shut down all of the extremism that they, up to this point, went along with, being weak, being fearful, and losing sight of the needs of the people that they've represented in their first term in Congress. So a lot of what you're seeing now has to do with election year politics. And for those who are in these Biden districts, they know that if they continue with this shutdown, they're going to pay a price in the upcoming election cycle, because the Republican Party has their approval ratings in the latest polls have dropped precipitously, 30 points.
So I want to move on to another subject down there in Washington, from another place here, who is the minority leader's neighbor in George Santos. So it's a joke what it looks like. But one of the arguments that we have here a lot on our radio is that Democrats would have said that he needs to step down. Republicans are saying let him have due process. What is your argument to that?
Well, the bottom line to it is that, that's what they're saying. But the reality is they have a small majority. Without his vote, now they have three, a 3-seat minority, because anyone in a special election that would elect another Republican in this district would have a very difficult time. We're definitely picking up that seat in the next election cycle. That was held by Tom Suozzi, who ran for governor. He is running for his seat once again, and I know he's going to be victorious, particularly given what George Santos has done, has made his constituents feel about being duped into electing him.
So you're saying I should move out to that county and run myself? So maybe I will become that. So let's move on to a couple of issues that we want to get to. Right, one of them is talk about what's going on in the Gaza Strip. I know that you're not the foreign affairs minister, but
it's a humanitarian catastrophe.
Right, and that's exactly
right. Let's call it what it is. Everyone can see for themselves, in the same way that we witnessed what took place in terms of the Hamas attack in Israel. The ensuing war has also taken the lives of thousands now of Palestinians, and the need for humanitarian relief is overwhelming. It's screaming at us, and so I am praising President Biden for seeing the necessity of not only being a friend to Israel,
yes,
but demonstrating his commitment to humanity and opening up the ability for us to get humanitarian relief into Gaza.
Yes,
right now, they've opened the Rafah border. There's no doubt that those who have survived to this point are suffering extreme. The suffering is palpable. And they're stuck between a rock and a hard place with Hamas, creating havoc in the lives of the average everyday Palestinian, let alone the barbaric atrocity that they committed against the people of Israel. And so we can't allow the average everyday Palestinian to suffer much longer. They shouldn't be suffering at all at this stage, but we see it, and we have to deal with it. And I'm so happy that President Biden made clear the values of our nation, because that's important.
I observed that the Prime Minister of Jamaica Andrew Holness, I don't know if it was recent, but extended support as well. So the world in itself is expressing support for Israel in terms of what is happening and the brutal attack through in the Gaza Strip. But one of the concerns that I have is, when you read what you read, right? That you have you in the Gaza Strip, you only have old and young, right? You have old and you have young. Um, so there's literally
40% of the population
right
are youth.
our youth, and they are going to grow up as often. I think as orphans, and that to me is a large percentage. I don't know what it's like to grow up without a parent, but to never see a parent or whatever the case is. I don't know what that's like, but I could only imagine. Do you know that whether or not Congress is has decided to do any kind of humanitarian? I know that Egypt has opened up to some regards the Rafah passage, but do you know, does Congress have anything in mind to support a lot of these young people who will become parentless even further removed after this Israel-Gaza Hamas war?
Let's say let's put first things first, right? Because we've got to work to make sure that Hamas is uprooted, and that we create the conditions on the ground that saves lives, saves lives in Gaza, saves lives in Israel. Let's also be clear, that with the barbaric attack that took place in Israel, we also have orphans. So there's a lot that these
Given
two
the stats
nations
on
actually
what's
have
being
in
circulated, sorry,
common
what's being
when we're dealing with humanity, right?
From both
Um,
sides,
on,
right?
exactly. However, this is going to be a protracted situation. It's going to call for the the community of nations to come together. It's real hot. It's real heated. Emotions are raw on all sides. Those of us who are witnessing what's taking place, the threat that continues in terms of the war expanding to other parts of the Middle East. We have Hezbollah coming from the north, who have no love for Israel. And so, we've got to settle the environment, create conditions on the ground for peace. And I think that's where the humanitarian efforts that you're talking about, Rudy, will come into play. How do we look after the children? How do we rebuild hospital infrastructure? How do we make sure that Hamas is not in a position to ever commit such an atrocity again? Because it comes at the expense of the lives of the Palestinians, and we have got to work with these young people to understand the value of democracy and how to fight for human rights, right? It doesn't come at the end of an AR-15. We're up against that in the United States of America, right? We've got to figure out how we, walk the walk, talk the talk, and put our money where our mouth is. And I
Right.
think that President Biden has done a tremendous service. This is where wisdom comes in. I don't know if you heard his press conference recently, but he talked about the lessons learned after 9/11
Yes,
in the
yes.
United States.
Moving
And
to
there,
that.
we rushed into all kinds of crazy wars that
Mhm,
that had nothing to do.
mhm,
We went into other countries and started talking about nation building and cultures that weren't ours. And so if we reflect on that, we can give guidance to an age old war, quite
mhm,
frankly. That unfortunately we've only known throughout our lifetime.
mhm.
You know,
You know, sorry, Rudy. I actually had wanted to, I know he was trying to bring everybody together before the explosion happened in the hospital, which would have been great to have a united front where people can communicate and not attack each other from a distance, and to bring every player and everyone together would allow, maybe possibly coming to an end or finding some form of solution quickly. There's no
At
end to
some
this.
at some point, it's
Yeah,
got to happen,
right, right.
because the human toll that is being taken is tremendous.
Mhm.
It's reverberating around the world. I mean,
Oh,
we're having protests right here in Washington D.C.
right.
So
Yesterday, a group of people protested.
absolutely. And I believe there's going to be another one tomorrow. So, I know that New York has been going through it. I
Mhm.
know that, the capitals around the world have been going through it. And so, you know, we all have a role to play here, and my whole thing is, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth leaves everyone blind and toothless.
Yes, yes, yes.
Who you're
Because
telling,
yeah,
and turning a blind eye doesn't help either.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
And
and,
one more thing. The problem with this is you all that's in the forefront are at risk as well. Not only everyone all around, but to have protests in front of people's homes. That's a scary thing. Like I remember last week, it was in front of Chuck Schumer house. That is inappropriate. That's not safe at all because we have enough crazies around. And I'm sorry to use the phrase crazy, but extreme people,
Well,
they
let me say this.
Mhm.
A lot of the members of Congress are under death threats right now. So we
Oh,
are in a period, an era where, differences are settled through violence.
yeah.
And we've got to get out of this. Our children can't grow up in this situation where they're continually under assault,
Mhm.
or walking with fear for their lives because people are armed and have a difference of opinion, have hatred in their heart. I mean, this is some serious times that we're in. And violence is violence to me. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
death and killing and murder, under war, under circumstances of war, under, duress in communities that are flooded with illegal handguns.
Mhm.
It's the lack of reverence for life
Yes.
that,
Yes.
is surrounding so many of us in the world right now.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
you know,
And having judges, some federal judges actually allow some of these gun things to continue to go on. Like I was reading today, California, the federal government in California, there's a ban on assault rifle, and they found it unconstitutional to actually have the ban and just continue to let assault rifle continue to go on. And
Well,
when yeah,
that's why who you elect to the
it's important.
legislation
Hmm.
is very important, because once we put legislation into effect, you know, it takes a lot for the courts to turn that over. And I mean, we've seen it, but
Hmm.
listen, we got to fight the good fight. But you don't have an opportunity to do that when you have, these folks who are, our First Amendment rights, excuse me, Second Amendment rights above life, you
Hmm.
know, and then want to ban, people's right to govern
Yes.
their own bodies. The craziness, hypocrisy, the
Hmm.
inconsistencies are tremendous, are
Yes.
tremendous. And, listen, we have got to do more to straighten things out so that our children have a pathway to prosperity, good health, and all that they're capable of, living up to their highest potential. You have, these folks who claim, all these religious, doctrines, but
Mhm.
never follow them.
Yeah.
I'm telling my colleagues here, you know, regardless of what religion you are, there is a version of thou shalt not kill
That is true.
in your text.
Right.
Yeah, in your commandments, I was just actually just looking at something
The
before. So
very first.
yeah, you know, a, somebody just sent me something I was looking at. That somebody was talking about religion and Moses, and one of them is and thou shalt not lie either. On that neighbors, and we see a lot of that going on. I want to move the
But
conversation
wait,
to
before you, but here's the irony.
Mhm.
This war that is broken out
Mhm.
is in the very land where the Ten Commandments were found.
Mhm.
that's interesting. That's very, very interesting. Right in the area over there.
Okay, I'm not going to go any further here because there is the separation of church and state.
That's all right. On the Village Radio Show, you separate or combine. Anything you want to do, you're good to
Well,
go.
I have to say, you look absolutely stunning with your hair like that. I have to say that you are looking and doing it well up
Thank
where you
you.
are.
I'm trying to become accustomed to it, so I'm constantly tugging on it. My colleague said it looks beautiful, but stop pulling it.
It looks
Right.
Thank you.
So I want to move on to some domestic issues. There are two of them. You and I talk all the time, and I'm hoping that this time you come back, you say, yes, I put that bill into Congress. Both of them, they lead to each other. Now, I've spoken to so many people about the migrants, right, and immigration, right. One, no amnesty. I don't think you're going to get one on this Congress, but a lot of people have been in the United States for years. I gotten about 8 phone calls in the last month about people who are looking to become legal here in this good old United States of America. They moving forward, right? I mean, outside, I know there's DACA, I know there's TPS, but now, is there anything else that you know that any laws or legislation that your office or as the vice president, you're the vice chair, right, of the Caribbean American Caucus, if I remember.
And I'm the chairperson of the Congressional Black Caucus Immigration Task Force.
Right. So,
Mhm.
so my question is there any legislation coming down the pike to assist those people who have lived in the United States far beyond DACA, have children, have families here in the United States, and just want to create a life for themselves and their families?
So the quick answer to your question is yes. There's legislation, and it's been introduced. Unfortunately, it's not bipartisan.
of
It
course.
is it has been introduced, and the co-sponsors of the legislation are all within the Democratic Party. In order for us to move any legislation in this house, notwithstanding the fact that we don't even have a speaker right now, um, requires that it's bipartisan,
Okay.
right? So, because we're in the minority. If we were in the majority, we could move the legislation and hopefully have a majority of the Senate agree, because the president has requested a bill that he can sign on comprehensive immigration reform.
What about
People should know this. This is not, if all the stars were lined up, we would have a pathway to citizenship for our folks that are here, because there's so many ways in which we know immigrants reinvigorate the United States.
Mhm.
And it all has to do with our economy. At the end of the day, we're almost at what they call um, uh, we're almost at, I'm trying to remember the terminology, full employment,
right? Okay.
right? But we know throughout the economy, there's a need and a shortage of workers.
Mhm. Mhm. So true.
But not only a shortage of workers.
And wait, let me add to that. We also have a boomer generation, which was one of the largest generations. And you have millennials, which is moving into being the largest generation because boomers are passing on. So who's going to provide services to these millennials if we're not preparing Gen Z?
That's a very good point, right?
So nursing, every occupation, and a lot of things that, technology is going to take care of for us, but not any human services that need to be delivered.
It's one of the things that we talk about when we do that. Nicole Nichols is asking, what is the proposed legislation?
For comprehensive immigration reform, there are two bills, actually. One that I have co-sponsored with Linda Sanchez, and I'm trying to remember the name of the bill, but if you Google it, they'll pop up. And then the other one was introduced by Veronica Escobar.
Okay. So there's a bipartisan caucus, right? There's a bipartisan caucus
it's called the Problem Solvers.
Yeah. What about them? Would there be an option, or that they're not political?
They are political, but it's not a priority for them. They're there, basically to look at governance problems. And I don't know that, based on that group, they lean more conservative. And so they're not at a stage, they may be co-sponsors, but I don't think immigration reform is on their agenda.
All right. Maybe one of our brothers and sisters in that caucus would be able to push forward and work.
Well, I don't see any brothers and sisters in that caucus. So we'll be waiting for some time.
You're waiting for some brothers and sisters, all right? Which brings us to the next conversation, the border. Have you been down there? Have you seen it?
Yes, I have. I've been to the southern border because one of the things that isn't often spoken about with respect to the southern border is that it's not only a pathway to freedom for Latino and Latin American immigrants. It's also a pathway to asylum and freedom for people coming from the Caribbean and coming from the continent of Africa. So I went down to the border because these individuals face even more of a perilous dynamic. One, not speaking Spanish, and two, being clearly Black, right? And so myself and a number of our colleagues went to see, what their status was. And we're finding more and more migrants coming. So the pathway is that Ecuador does not require a visa to visit it. So those who have the means coming from the continent and, make their way to Ecuador. And once in Ecuador, begin the trek through the jungles to get to the border of the United States of America. Many of them are coming from conflict nations.
So I just want to be clear what you're saying. So people go into Ecuador and they drive through Mexico and come up.
Or walk through. Are you kidding me? There's so many different routes. Some people go through Colombia. Some people go through Panama. Panama is a big transit hub for migrants.
Yeah, one of the arguments. So the influx of migrants has been an economic burden, right?
Yes.
I say it's an economic burden. I don't know what terminology anybody else wants to use, but I definitely look at it as an economic burden. And for sanctuary cities like New York, like San Francisco, Los Angeles, and a few others, Chicago, Detroit, the economic toll, right, and the violence, right? And
so let me say this. I think that part of the challenge is not just economic; it's infrastructure. When you bring that volume of people into an area with the frequency and just the sheer numbers, it overwhelms our human resource infrastructure, because there are people in New York City who are not part of the group that says that migrants should not come to the United States and are willing to provide resource and support and opportunities to these individuals. The problem is, because our asylum system is broken, we're not able to process people and determine their fate one way or another in a timely manner, right? And that's by design. Our whole immigration system is broken. There are parts of this country where they need these people.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? Where they need these people and they're trapped. The only way that they can somewhat survive until their cases are adjudicated is to come to a city or to be in a city where there is somewhat of a safety net, if you will, so that, you know, these folks, they're making their own economy right now. You know, they're not lazy just sitting around. I mean, listen, scooters are everywhere.
That's true.
You know, so I think that, to be, you know, it is a burden because of how it occurred and the fact that our laws have not kept up with what we know and can predict is going to happen in our hemisphere, given the instability of the hemisphere. You know, we have the intelligence, you know, and that's why our mayor went, you know, to Mexico.
I actually said last week that I noticed that it's more New York government that push people into making some change. So yes, former took more of a presidential role. For example, for him to go and travel to find out what is happening in these different places. Let's speak to the problem. Let's speak to the people in charge. And then after seeing others take that stance and start asking the same question, that's powerful. That's
Well,
powerful.
it's great, you know, and you know, it's unfortunate that Kamala Harris wasn't given the same level um of publicity around the fact that she went months ago,
I
right?
wonder why.
So when you talk about how the press, you know, is fear, you know, the Black woman was sent, that was her mission. And we're just not seeing that, you know, we are working on those issues, but there's obstruction. You know, the Republicans are in the majority of the House. They want people to suffer. They want to hear us holler out about being overwhelmed by these individuals. They bust them there. They were involved in human trafficking and nobody called it what it was.
So I have a question. I know total different because you mentioned something.
Mhm.
I noticed that one of our Republican who's running for office, especially the one in Florida, he actually sent private planes to go and get some of the people stuck in Israel.
Yeah.
I think, you know, and similar to him taking a private plane to ship some of the migrants from one side to the other. Whose money is he using for those things? You know, I'm just shocked because he's taking the lead on his own to do certain things that the United States as a this order is out of order. It seems totally out of order. He's a wild
Well, you know, I know that there's some legislation here that is calling for a Department of Justice investigation into the human trafficking of children by individuals like that. Because when you take unaccompanied minors, put them on a plane or put them on a bus, you are engaging in child trafficking. Okay. So listen, you know, we're trying to do as much as we can to hold people accountable as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot going on, but it doesn't help when, these folks came to Congress to break government. And that's what they're doing.
Yeah,
That's
because
what they're doing. I mean, look at all of the issues that we've gone over this evening. And I'm about to bounce, y'all, because the president's about to give his announcements, his address to the nation, rather.
Okay.
But I just wanted to share with you that it all is connected. Everything that we have discussed is connected. And when you ask, how does it get done? You have to remember that if the House is dysfunctional and Republicans refuse to accept, the work that's before us, then we can't do the work. We can advocate, we can work with the president. He's trying to do what he can that's within his discretion, but the form of governance that we have in the United States, he can't act unilaterally. He has to have a legislature in which all of the funding he needs originates. All of the funds that we need to address these issues come through the House of Representatives first and foremost. And we've got a group of people here based on their hatred, that will never acquiesce for the better and greater good of the people that we represent. They just won't.
Quickly before you go, we want to talk about affordable housing. Do you have time for that?
We got about 2 minutes, Rudy, but let me tell you, I know you want to address all of these issues. I have been trying to express to you that all of the legislation we need is in place. I'm trying to tie some things. Let me. When we did the Build Back Better initiative that the Republicans would not pass, we had to break it up, and then we eventually went to the Inflation Reduction Act. But the Build Back Better bill that President Biden asked for, funded through HUD, a whole host of programs. It supported individuals who couldn't afford the high rents that are being asked for by giving greater subsidy to those individuals. That bill never passed. And now that we're without a speaker, the reality of that happening is even more remote.
Yes.
With respect to HUD, though, the Secretary Marsha Fudge, is doing some innovative things through HUD. And I'd like to come back and try to do something with you that goes over the new programs that she's put in place. And to a certain extent, we have to rely on the state government, the governor, to implement these programs. But, it's not going to fix sort of the systemic part of the fact that we don't have enough homes for the people who need them.
Yeah, there are a couple of comments on it, but I know you don't have time for them. But there's a lot of people saying good evening. And,
would you tell them, everybody, have a good
evening? Yes.
With you. It's great to be home via my brother.
StreamYard.
Via StreamYard. And Rudy Daly.
Yeah, I spoke to Mommy a couple of days ago. She's doing great.
Listen, I am so blessed to have my parents in my life, and to see them continue to flourish, even at their tender ages, right? And living their best lives. So yes, and she was very excited. This week was Heroes Week, and my cousin, Dr. Robert Clark of New Jersey, received an OD. That's 3 of us in my family. I happen to be a commander of the Order of Distinction. So,
and Mommy, and now
like my mom, and now my cousin, Dr. Robert Clark. So I have a lot to brag and boast about.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Very good family we have. Very good family. So,
thank you.
And thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Yes.
And,
everyone, listen, stay blessed, stay focused, stay woke, Don't let them take that away from you.
Yeah.
We've got to be woke because these are some challenging times, but our people have navigated worse. So I know we'll make it through.
And make sure that
and we'll thrive.
Make sure that you sneak in, make sure you sneak in a little ballot for the new speaker. Just put it in
Yeah,
there.
listen, tell everyone, tune in to C-SPAN tomorrow morning at 10 and watch your congresswoman cast her vote for the Honorable Hakeem Jeffries.
For speaker. There you go. That's good. That's good to hear. So looking forward to speaking to you soon. The couple of things. Are you going to the Caribbean conference? Are you?
Listen, that to be continued. I got to watch my president. Everyone have a good evening.
Go have fun.
Bye-bye.
All right, take care, Congresswoman.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you again for joining us today. Very excited. We just had a conversation with Congresswoman Yvette Clarke. Looking forward in a little bit to our next speaker, Pastor Gifford Monroe, is coming on, primarily to address some of the migration.
Footprints Cafes now offers Caribbean flatbreads, available in 11 mouth-watering flavors, including favorites like jerk chicken, curry chicken, honey garlic chicken or shrimp, ackee and saltfish, garlic cheese, and more. Our flatbreads are satisfying and can be enjoyed by the entire family. So make it a flatbread night at Footprints and enjoy the fusion of flavors. These flatbreads are so good, you might just have to fight for that last piece. Good thing there's plenty more where that came from. Get yours today from any of our Footprints locations. Want to enjoy your flatbread at home? Then order on Uber Eats and get it delivered right to your door. We'll see you there.
Call Howard Housing Solution today for all your real estate needs. Sellers, we can get top dollar for your home, and our vast network of professionals can facilitate your move and help you purchase your dream home in another state. Buyers, we have a pulse on the market and can get you in a home quickly. Property owners, we can manage your property efficiently and allow you peace of mind. So why wait? Call Howard Housing Solutions today at 646-825-5560 for your sale, purchase, or property management needs. Conveniently located in East New York, Brooklyn. You can come to us at 577 New Lots Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, or we can visit in the comfort of your home. Call Howard's Housing Solutions today at 646-825-5560. Howard Housing Solutions, real estate simplified.
Grace Family Adult Social Daycare right here at 1330 Utica Avenue. Starting next Tuesday, come out and register. Please contact 646-504-5778 if you have any questions, any concern, from 10 to 2 starting Tuesday, October 23rd, October 24th. Yeah, Tuesday, October 24th. You can come in to 1330 Utica Avenue. The Grace Family Adult Social Daycare. That will be 1330 Utica Avenue. Call 646-504-5778 or send them an email at gracefamilyadult@gmail.com. Check out their website, gracefamilyasdcare.com. So on the screen it says Grace Family Adult. Please add the letters ASD for Adult Social Daycare. Looking forward to seeing you next Tuesday, and I will be there as well to greet you as you come out. Eddie, I agree with you. I agree with you fully that there needs to be a national program whereby the influx of immigrants is equally shared by the 50 states plus Puerto Rico. Easier said than done with the dysfunctional house. Absolutely, I agree. I think that You know, I think and that's what I was trying to get Dr. Bryant, the Congresswoman, to, and thank you for the answer that she gave, that there are legislation in there to help our current um, undocumented here in the United States,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, the the issues are real, right? Real people are really afraid. Sometimes they really don't want to let their status be known, right?
Mm-hmm.
The asylum seekers. I was glad I got that little information from Congresswoman Clark, because I didn't know that, because Ecuador basically has no
Requirements.
no immigration policy. Anybody can go there, um, and it makes it easier access to come through and come up the channel to the United States, because clearly the other Caribbean countries, Central American countries don't have any stringent laws about coming in. But like she said, and I'm also glad that she pointed out that it's not just our Latino brothers and sisters that are coming out, but also
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
we have other Caribbean countries coming out. But it's scary, you
That's
know.
true.
So that's something that needs to be fixed.
About
Um,
the vetting system. The vetting system, a lot of people could say, hey, I'm coming from such and such, and it's not really true.
well, I mean, I argue every week, right? I argue every week for the last couple of weeks.
Let me ask you a question. Some of these people have lost everything. They're going through waters, the jungle, the this, the that, the this. Do you think they come with identification?
So let me say this.
Sometimes, no, and that's what people are
The
saying.
problem. Let me just say this. Let me just say this, and I've said it every week for the last few weeks. The migrants are legal. They might be legal through illegal means. They might be legal through illegal means, but they're legal. I think one of the things that I always talk about, and I've spoken about this, and I know Eddie Gentile, who traveled with me around the world um, a few times and went to a few different countries, can attest. The United States is viewed around the world as paradise until you get here, right? Now, there is the dream of becoming a multimillionaire, wealthy, healthy,
Mm-hmm.
and all that stuff. It exists.
Mm-hmm.
But people don't understand that everybody doesn't get it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That everybody doesn't get it. And a lot of people go through the struggle. I've never been in American English. If you turn on the TV now, you have to find, outside of English and Spanish, you have to search with a fine-tooth comb
Mm-hmm.
the Haitian Creole station. And there is none. There's just like some PSA that people put together, like a few people I know, and they have a PSA but there's no national um, Haitian Creole. There's no national French station. There's no national Russian station, right? But they do exist. I mean, you can find them. When I travel, I think this summer was the only time that I traveled where I did not find. Actually, there was one, BBC England, right? But I didn't get that in the room. I got it in the cafeteria. Where in my room, I did not find an English station that spoke about the effect of the United States and popularized the United States. When we went to Italy, when we went to France, when we went to Greece, when we went to Egypt, we saw this. I mean, I remember when I went to Egypt in 2010, they called me Obama, right? Oh, Barack Obama. They called me that. I remember when I went to Spain, like how they addressed me. Oh, you Americans, you just think that you can do what you want to do, and so America is sensationalized through media. So everybody wants to come here. So if I find a illegal way to get here, I'm coming. They don't realize, and now worst of all, that the government looking at these legal migrants
Mm-hmm.
and offering them room and board. Room and board is very, very important, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so if remember, if I get room and board, I can survive. Hey, Maureen, how you doing? Thank you for joining us. All right, our next guest is here. Let's just bring him on right away. Right? Why are you laughing at Pastor? Are you
Because you
laughing?
didn't even give him a chance to adjust. He's busy trying to get his, bearings.
I
Just
should,
brought
Pastor.
him right away.
I didn't see that, Pastor Gail, that you're trying to.
Good evening, Pastor Monroe's. Oh my God, Roderick.
How are
I'm,
you?
I'm so sorry. How you doing? How you doing?
I'm good. Doing all right. How's
Yeah,
everybody?
I doing well, doing well. I heard that you're the big man in campus now. I heard that you're in 2029 you're running for mayor. That's what I heard. Is that true?
No, I wouldn't be able to run for mayor because I wouldn't be able to win. So that wouldn't make sense for me.
All right. That's what you
But
say now.
whatever I do, I'm gonna be doing it big.
So tell us a little bit, Pastor Monroe. You're no stranger to the village. I was very excited. We were at a press conference on Monday, right? For ladies and gentlemen in Brooklyn, there's a $141 million project that the mayor was at, and I had the opportunity, was invited to participate in the press conference. So it was beautiful for the groundbreaking for the Shirley Chisholm Museum. Shirley Chisholm, for all of you out there, she ran for the first real, I forgot the word I'm looking for, candidate for president of the United States when she ran for president in 1968, or was it 72? I think it was 72. She ran for president in 1972. She was elected to Congress in 1968, and then she ran for president in 1972. There's a construct of a recreational center in Brooklyn, in the district that I represent, and Dr. Guilford Monroe's, Pastor Guilford Monroe's was on hand, and we're talking about the migrants. And so we're going to lead with the migrant. Please, I'm an immigrant, come from a country that the world declared that Guyana is the richest country in the world, whose control and throughout the Guyana.
Pastor Monroe's, can you
Good
introduce
question.
yourself to our wonderful listeners for those who don't know who you are, please?
If they don't know who I am, they shouldn't be listening to your show.
You
That
on
makes
a roll
no sense.
tonight. You on a roll tonight. My God.
That absolutely no sense.
We
You
always have new listeners, so you never know.
you don't introduce people at this level in a low. Introduce the president of the United States. You say, ladies and gentlemen, we introduce to you the 42nd president, 45th president of the United States, and you say the name. So that's all you need to do to introduce me, right? Like it's over. It's a wrap.
You're on a roll tonight. Okay.
But
So wait, let me introduce him for you.
no,
Ladies
no,
and
no.
gentlemen.
Hold on. But in case, in case
He wanted to bust my chop first. Okay, all right.
that there is someone who just figure out that they live in Brooklyn, I want to let them know that I'm Pastor Gilman Rose. I pastor the Mount Zion Church of God 7-day on East 37th Street between Church and Linden Boulevard, in the great borough of Brooklyn in East Flatbush. And I have the profound pleasure of being the father to Jan and Joshua Monroe's, and the husband of Diane Monroe's, who, by the way, is going to be running her first marathon in November.
Oh,
Yeah.
congrats.
She is a 4-time Spartan champion. And so we're cheering her on, and we're so glad that she's checking off her.
When you say Spartan, you mean like Michigan State?
No, Spartan, the race.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I also have the pleasure to serve New York City in the Office of Faith, and being the faith advisor to the Mayor of New York City, Eric Adams. So that's what it is, my friend.
I got you. You got Patricia upset. You realize you were joking. See, like you got Patricia upset.
That's
Patricia, he was just joking. If you know Pastor Monroe,
on comments or no?
huh?
Oh, I can't respond. Yeah, Patricia. Which Patricia is that?
Patricia Trim.
Oh,
Yeah, my guy named Benny, who has her program as well. But let's get to work, right? We have some issues with the migrants. Tell us about that. What is your office? What is the mayor's office looking at doing to support these migrants or to support the United States and these migrants or combination? Wait, let's not get to that question. Would you consider the migrants legal or illegal individuals?
well, that question. So I can't. Well, the question is they're not illegal because by the word migrants, it's or asylee. They are, they head through the asylum seekers program. If you're an asylee, it's different than if you came from the Caribbean on a visitor's visa, you overstay on your visa, then you are now um, undocumented. Okay? That's the difference between someone who is seeking political refuge, who have the asylee designation to be here, and they have to go to a judge. So then the judge will then determine whether or not that they qualify for asylum. So asylee or the migrants are not undocumented or illegal. They are asylee seekers. So,
All right. I
so
just
when
I only asked you that question because there's somebody to my I don't know what you see on the screen is right or left, but whatever side she's on, right? She likes to call them illegal, and I keep saying they're not illegal because whether or not they did it through illegal means.
Did I say illegal or
Yes,
you put that in my mouth?
I didn't put that in your
I
mouth.
never said that.
So
no,
tell us what the mayor's office is doing.
but no, they're
I just
not.
want thank you for clarifying that, by the way.
No, they're
For
not.
our
They're not.
Dr.
They're
Brian.
not illegal. They could become. The status could change, but now the idea in terms of what we have is that they have to have see a judge, and then the judge will make the determination. But so folks from the Caribbean like myself, who when you move from the Caribbean, you stay with your parents or your friend or your family, your auntie, your uncle on the couch, and then after a while you move out, and people who normally is those individuals, of course, is in a different category than who we have now. So being undocumented, um, in the sense of in terms of how you got to the United States of America is different than how they got here. So it's two different categories of immigration. What I can say is that the immigration system that we have in America is broken and it needs to change. And that's why, hopefully, God willing, we'll be going down to Washington again on the 25th with faith leaders from New York City to push Congress to, number one, help New York City. Number two, we need to have a pathway to citizenship. And for the 11 million undocumented individuals that we have in America, and we need to do it, right away.
So
the congresswoman was just on, and she spoke about two legislation. That one is she co-sponsored, another one co-sponsored by Congresswoman Escobar, in terms of looking at pathway, creating immigration reform. Are you aware of these legislation?
No. I have not done. About 14 years ago, we took 125 pastors from New York to Washington to deal with immigration reform. Since that time, I have not done a lot of work on the policy side of the immigration matter. However, we are coming from this from a moral imperative
We lost you. We lost you by mic. We lost you by mic, Pastor.
Oh, he did.
Pastor Gill. Let's just send him a message that we lost him. No, the volume is not there. No, it's you.
We lost your volume.
We lost his volume.
Oh.
I don't think he can hear us.
Yeah, he can't hear us.
All right. So while Pastor Monroe's while Pastor Monroe's fix his
Mhm.
audio, right? The migrant issue and the immigration issue for us Caribbean folks is very.
Can you hear us now?
Can you hear us?
Mhm.
Say something. No, still can't hear you. Yeah, I just call him on the phone and find out. So at the at the end of the day, the migrant issue and the immigration issue, I don't think they're one. I don't think they're separate, right?
Mhm.
I think we can't just look at them from one
Lens.
lens and say, well, these undocumented individuals,
Mhm.
you know, A, B, C, D, and E, right? We have to look at them from both lens and come to the decision that it is important to address all of these concerns,
Mhm.
and which we're not doing, right? So America. First of all, what Congresswoman said that people fail to understand, their jobs, right? Their jobs that myself, who is a Caribbean American, I'm not going to do, right? Um, so and people who come to the United States are more than willing to do a lot of these jobs, right? Um, and so I'm not sure why sometimes to help out the economy, to help things to go where you want it to go,
Mhm.
right? So I'm glad to see that there's some level of immigration reform. I'm glad to see that Pastor Monroe's and the mayor's office is having that conversation about immigration reform.
And
Um,
I'm happy to hear that as well. But once we can get everything working on our in our government system, then things can run effectively. So
um, yeah, I mean that's a good point, right?
yeah,
But anyway, what are some other things that are Halloween is coming up in a couple of weeks? Oh, this month, Andre, you have those numbers for me? This month is Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
it is. It is
Uh,
also domestic violence month, so there's several things that people should pay attention to. Domestic violence month, breast cancer awareness month. So a lot is going on this month. Next week, is it next week? No, 2 weeks is like you mentioned, Halloween is taking place in 2 weeks. And just a lot going on. All right,
Before I forget,
Pastor
but,
Monroe
oh, he's back. All right.
is back.
So,
Yeah.
before I forget, I will be speaking. The Village Radio Show will be on the road, right? The Village Radio Talk Show will be on the road at 3807, right? 3807 Church Avenue. Next week, Saturday, the 28th, where I will be speaking on civic engagement and the likes. So next week, Saturday, I'll be right there encouraging people and talk about civic responsibility.
Yes,
Um,
thank you.
the-
Wait. Thank you so much, Rona, for mentioning this is also Mental Health Awareness Month as well. Thank you. That is a very important focus as well. So a lot.
that is Dr. Brian's favorite topic, by the way.
It is a lot. Every weekend there is something going on to support mental health. There's organization all over the city that are creating activities. There's things happening in the park. There's things happening in community centers. So there is always something to do. And I'll send that to you, Andre.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I have a couple of those. So, Pastor Monroe, you're back. Are you able to hear us? No, he's still frozen. You're breaking up. Wherever you are, the the system is low.
So
Try again.
Oh,
Right. So while we're looking at it, they're about four.
Yeah.
oh, now
No, before you came, it stopped. I tried to get phones.
Right. So in terms of breast cancer, there are currently about 4 million people, right, in the United States. By the way, it's not just men; it's men and women
absolutely.
who suffer from breast cancer. Um,
So getting
right.
your mammogram and men going out to get checked out. If you do feel a lump, please don't say, "Oh, it's nothing." No, it's always good to get checked out to make sure that if you do find something, you go and check it out.
Right. It is the most commonly diagnosed cancer among U.S. women. About 30% of all newly diagnosed cancers in women each year are breast cancer. Right. So please make sure you get that 30%. Right. So 30% of any cancer, 30%. And if you know that this cancer, everything in that high, and it's alongside prostate cancer, um, it is those two are the most treatable. You know, right? Also note within your family whether or not cancer is a diagnosis, right? Then you check that out. So 15% of women get breast cancer have a family history, right? So you need to really do check that out, all right? So
So
15% is a large number. 15% out of 4 million. I know. What's that? That's more than 500,000. I'm not doing the math off the top of my head, but 10% is 10% is 400,000. 1% is 40,000. So 10% is 400,000, right? So 600,000 people, women who are diagnosed, come from a family history. That's a lot of people, right? Black women are greater likely to die from it. One, for a number of reasons. One, for the racial makeup. Two, for the fact that along with black men, we don't like to go to the doctor, right?
and listen, if you do get tested as much as possible, doing a mammogram early and doing it timely, you can detect it. And sometimes you can't because of different things.
Put it in
But
the
going to get
uh,
tested and checking out yourself and making sure that everything is good is a nice, clear way of saying, hey, you know what? I want to make sure I'm healthy. And don't take it for granted.
yeah, yes, and so I mean I know it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but there's some cancers like mine that you only detect at stage 4. So go in if you feel any abnormality. I don't
Mhm.
care if you look like a punk. Go check it out. Check them out. You know, because once you go down, you can't come back up. All right. So don't care.
No, I'm glad you said that. I'm glad
Right.
you said that.
No,
So I just,
and when I say go down, I actually mean 6'6", right?
mm,
That's what I mean when I say go down. So do take care of yourself. Go ahead, Dr. Brown.
I want to switch totally off topic, off of breast cancer and cancer
Run out of
altogether.
so you're
Just
gonna
so
send
you,
it so that it can be
um,
edited.
thinking about going down, I'm thinking about Trump's former, um, his former attorney who decided to plead guilty today. So,
Oh yeah, she took a
yeah,
plea deal. Yeah.
yeah, taking a plea deal to say, yeah, I'll take it, I'll deal with it. I'm guilty, I'm guilty, I'm guilty. The person who has said, yeah. So, and she's willing to share the truth now. That is something. Who do you think is next?
Um, you know what? I think that Trump is going to be backed in a corner, right? He's going to be backed into a corner because people are now beginning to see that he really did do something wrong, and really did do something
Yeah,
wrong,
the
and
attorneys,
you know,
the attorneys are starting.
I don't know. Wait, say it again. Can you hear
I
me?
said when your attorneys start turning, I can you hear me?
What I was saying is that eventually, um, he's gonna have to he's gonna have to come to a determination that hey, I am not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and people are going around me. So how much more fight can I put up? How much more fight? What else can I argue? What else can I do? Because at the end of the day, everybody around me is going down, right? But you know, I realize when somebody sometimes thinks that they are right, they are never wrong.
Are invincible? Are invincible that they can't go down?
Now I'm gonna go when they think they're right, they're never wrong. So therefore, it's not about being it's not about being invincible or vulnerable. Is an arrogant complex, and I see it all the time. Like you know, um, he feels that he was justified. He feels that he was robbed. He feels um, that, and he's not. You know, even if he takes a plea deal, he's like he said. Every time somebody says something, he goes, "It's a witch hunt. It's a Democratic
Mm-hmm.
person on the far left, and not owning up to something that he has done wrong.
Oh,
You
he'll
know,
never own up to anything.
calling the state and saying, "Can you find me some votes?" So that it's almost like he's doing a coup, right? Almost like he's doing a coup and not realizing that it's a coup that he's planning, right? He's trying to take what was next if it was president, overturn. Um, so, ladies and gentlemen, after 1944, after the election of 1944, the amendment, I don't remember what number it is, the number amendment, Andre could look that up for me, the terms of the president, right? The terms of the president of the United States. So in 1932, um, Franklin Delano Roosevelt was elected president. He was elected 32, count them, 36, 40, and 44. Prior to him, every president only ran for no more than 2 terms. Little history I'm teaching you. There's one president, which is what Donald Trump is trying to become the second, Grover Cleveland, who served as president, lost the presidency, and then served again. But he still only served 2 terms. In 1904, right, the president of the United States decided he was not going to. He ran for president in 1908 and he won it, and then he decided he was not going to run for president anymore. That's how Woodrow Wilson became president in 1912. So 1908 he became president, and then he decided after serving 1 term that he was going to run again. So he lost because Woodrow Wilson came in as a third party candidate and won the presidency of the United States. So those 3 examples are the only places where there was some level of turmoil. And now here, which is the fourth, right? I mean, there are turmoil. Somebody won one term and lost again, like George Bush Sr. did in 1992 to Bill Clinton. But in essence, he's the only president that really is since 1912, right? Since 1912, he's the only president who has caused any who didn't just lose and disappear.
Yeah, and
George
he's
Bush,
the only one twice impeached
yeah.
too.
Um, Jimmy Carter was elected in 1976, did his one term, lost to Reagan in 80, didn't run again, didn't seek a second election. He just went off to the sunset. George H.W. Bush, he also did the same thing. He rode off into the sunset after he was in 92. He never ran back for president.
Not this one.
This one has a superiority complex.
He likes power.
But I don't know if it's just power though. There's some people who do anything to win.
Like Kevin McCarthy, your former speaker.
No, I don't think he did anything to win.
Yes, he.
Well, no,
yes,
I don't. I think it's
sold
different.
his soul for power.
I disagree.
he did.
I disagree. I disagree. I don't think.
Listeners, if you agree or disagree, please share that with us.
No, I'm going to tell you. Well, can I tell you my side first? Why I disagree?
ahead.
All right. So I disagree because he felt that in order to become the leader, right, he had to relinquish certain things,
He
right?
sold his soul for power.
Donald Trump is not doing that. Donald Trump is ruthlessly, right, ruthlessly trying to undermine the will of the people to become the president of the United States. He didn't do that. He was the leader and he needed a couple of votes. Okay, I need these votes. What do you need? Donald Trump is not doing that. Donald Trump is saying, I am the president of the United States. I am the lawful president of the United States.
You think he's he's trying to be a dictator. That's
Exactly.
what it is. He wants to follow all the others. Putin, his other buddy in North Korea. Oh my God, he wants to be just like them.
But you know, I gotta say to all my Republican listeners out there, I like Trump, right? I like a lot of things about Trump that I love the fact that Trump didn't play politics. I love that, right? He lied a lot, but I like that I like that he didn't play politics, right?
Let me tell you.
He says, "Oh, he listen. Let me give him his flowers. He released more people from prison."
So here's the funny thing: when he was actually running, I can say he was a comedy show.
2016 or no?
Oh my goodness, he was a comedy show. When he was running against Hillary, he was hilarious, really, really funny. Like, oh, okay, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. You know, it was a comedy show. And then people actually thought he was going to lose. And he won. That's the part. That part was funny on everybody who thought he was going to lose. And he proved them wrong because we're busy laughing at the comedy show thinking it's funny, but it's not.
Well,
who represented us.
It was all part of the act.
Please.
All right. Listen, people fail to. He did a lot of good things in the Black community. People don't like to hear that. All right? People don't like to hear that. What do you mean by he did a lot of good things? He did. Check it out. He released a lot of Black people from jail. He created some laws that were conducive for Blacks. Now, his overall record wasn't that great for Blacks, but he did do a lot of things that, you know, Obama deported a lot of Black folks. People, you know, people don't want to admit that, but Obama deported the most Black people of any president. Most people, not Blacks, the most people of any president in the history of the United States.
Okay.
In the history of the United States.
So, here's the funny thing. Every president has its good and bad. I can say that. No one president is perfect in all their ways, just like no one person is perfect in all their ways. There will be some.
I'm perfect.
There'll be some good days and bad days. For example,
check yourself. I'm perfect.
For example, here is part of recently this week, I guess, one of the State Department official resigned over Biden administration handling of Israel and Hamas conflict. Why? Because they felt that
Look
the
up the guy that
ongoing
served from
conflict.
Harvard, the
Mhm.
richest guy, philanthropist from Harvard, who resigned.
Because they felt that the ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas, that the
He's
United
the guy
States,
from the board of Harvard.
huh, Roger? What did you say?
No, I was talking to Andre. No, he's not the only person that resigned.
So Josh
that
Paul, he worked in the Bureau of Political Military Affairs for more than 11 years, says that he resigned due to a policy disagreement concerning our continued lethal assistance to Israel. He said the U.S. provided $3.8 billion annually in security assistance to Israel, and that the administration is poised to request additional security assistance. So here it is. Some people are upset that, I guess, the United States continue to support international conflict, and that provides more lethal weapons throughout. So I guess that's where, you're going to have some people who agree, some people who disagree.
I think one of the things that people have to come to some level of understanding
Mhm.
that the United States have treaties, right? They have treaties with
And
with specific countries.
Pastor Monroe's is back on.
Oh, Pastor Monroe's, you're back. All right.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to, I was at a church, so I had to come out in the street. So you got me in the streets.
That's
Well,
good.
thank you.
By the way, just for the record, you do a lot of work on the streets. I don't know what you're talking about. But
Yeah.
with,
You know,
with the violence prevention and everything else that you do out there.
I just want your listeners to know that it's just a matter of bad connection and me moving. So my apologies, but I'm sure that um,
No, we understand.
yeah.
Signals go and they come. But we know that you're doing a lot of work, especially now with the crisis overseas and how the pastors from all denominations are gathering. Is there going to be, by any chance, any unified prayer or something coming up?
For now it, I haven't seen a unified gathering as yet, because I think that this where we find ourselves in a situation where lines have been drawn, and
Mhm,
those lines are holding steady on quote unquote both sides of the equation.
mhm,
There's a lot of gathering for prayer,
mhm.
but it's mostly around the ecumenical communities. But I think that what we want to get to as a city is that process of healing, where we can have those who are really fighting for their own survival, which is Israel and Palestine and the Gaza, to be able to have the Muslim and the Jewish community, in terms of the faith leadership, coming together and showing solidarity in New York City.
Mhm.
We're not totally there yet, but I think that we'll get there.
I think that's funny. Because I don't see that happening. I think that um, maybe in New York City, maybe I'll take it back. Maybe in New York City, you might see a little bit of that. The history of Palestine and recognizing Israel as a state, that history has been so long, so forbidden that if you get that done, I joked at the beginning about you running for mayor, but I think then you should just run for president, because there's a lot of wound, a lot of
Well, what you said about the president? I didn't hear it completely.
no, I said if you can get the Jews and the Palestinians to come to recognition of each other, since Israel was formed as a state in 1948, right? I've given some history. Oh, he's breaking up again.
Okay, I understand. I understand it. There was a little suck. Okay, well, listen. The job and the ultimate job for a politician is not to be a religious leader, and
Exactly.
therefore we cannot depend on them to be able to bring people together in that sense, because what we're facing too is that, well, it's also immoral and something that is deeply religious. In even when you look at the beginning of time, where this all started from, it depends on which text you're reading.
Mm-hmm.
We know exactly how it started many years ago in terms of biblical time.
Right.
So, I would say for us is we're living in a shared society, and
Mm-hmm.
in that shared society, we must have mutual respect, and we must have again a coming together of individuals, understanding that our children and where we work, where we play, where we go, where we do business, we
Mm-hmm.
live together among a diverse group of people. Therefore, it behoves us as a city and as leaders, faith leaders, to be able to
Mm-hmm.
come to a room and say that yes, we see the pain, we understand the differences that we have in the Middle East, but we have to do the best that we can to live in unity as much as we can and mutual respect here
Mm-hmm.
in New York City. And that is where we're trying to get to right now.
I agree because the tension internationally impact us here, and the tension here is actually very strong. So by collaborating and bringing all parties together would help in the right movement towards some form of unity.
And just like you would have a hurricane in the Caribbean, or you have um, mass drowning, or you have shootings, or someone who left the States, went back down to Jamaica or one of the islands, and
Hmm.
something terrible happened, and the whole country is up in arms.
Hmm.
You're feeling the pain of your country, of your island. Imagine if you're in war, and people are dying, and you see children dying, and hospitals are being bombed, whether it's by bomb, and you have individuals going back and forth between murdering and carnage. It will pain you. So that is the pain that individuals are feeling right now,
Hmm.
and we have to recognize that pain. We have to come alongside them, because at the end of the day, a child who, in the circumstance of an environment, has no say of the life, or the life that they have come into,
Right.
the life that has had been handed to them. And so we should have that compassion and that mercy for all who's
Yes.
involved in this conflict. And my responsibility is to pray for peace. And when we pray for peace, it's not peace for one side, it's peace
Right.
for, it's peace for all. And that is
Absolutely.
our ultimate goal, is to pray for the peace, that it will come to a cessation, and that they can at least get back to the table to see how they can live with one another.
Um, yeah,
Thank you.
it sounds good, right? It sounds good, and that it's, a prayer of hope, right? A prayer of hope for all individuals involved, right? Like the congresswoman said, we have a humanitarian crisis in the
Pray of healing.
in,
Healing.
huh?
Mm. Pray of healing.
Yeah, in the Gaza Strip, right, and what needs to happen to a lot of these innocent people, right? They're not people of war. They're people who just want to go home and make some food and sit
Hmm.
down, like you said, with Diamond and watch her run track, right? Um, and that's not happening. So I'm glad to see that you're trying to get done. I wanted to, because we had started talking about the migrants and we didn't finish, right? So what exactly is the mayor thinking about doing in order to affect the migrants?
Well, Well, there's nothing that we can do in terms of our responsibility. We are housing, we are feeding, we are providing services for every single migrant that comes across the border to New York City. That's bus air or by plane. We are not allowing anyone to sleep on the streets of New York City, and that is a commitment that we have made. What we are asking for, of course, is that is costing New York City a considerable amount of money to be able to do so. So this is a federal problem, and we believe that New York City cannot bear the brunt of the burden alone, and that's why we are calling upon our federal partners to call a state of emergency to unlock federal FEMA dollars to be able to help provide for the migrants. So we are going to do what we have to do, but again, it's costing the city billions of dollars, and we're hoping that the border can be controlled, that they can really process people the right way, that it could be in an orderly fashion, and then we have a national decompression plan. A lot of people who come into New York City were just put on the bus. They don't want to be in New York City. They want to be elsewhere. And so we should give them the opportunity to be able to go elsewhere. But they're being bused directly to New York City. It is a system again that is not for an American society to be the superpower of the world. I think that we can definitely organize and handle migrants better than how we're doing it right now.
You know, Eddie Gentile in the previous comment said that all 50 states need to bear some of
Correct.
the brunt.
I
That's not
agree.
happening. How's your boss? Have you had any conversation about how he plans to follow up with President Biden to hold other states accountable and responsible for the migrants?
Sir, I'm the fate person in the administration. I'm not the political director of international affairs. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, no, it's not international. We talk about
Oh, okay, but what I'm saying,
it's definitely not international. It's more about getting help, right, from the federal
yes,
government.
yes, that's what I said. That we are working, with faith leaders to travel to Washington D.C. on the 25th of October. We are praying that there's a speaker by the name of Hakeem Jeffries to be selected and appointed. That will be great for us, and we are heading to Washington D.C. providing that there's a Speaker of the House who would be confirmed. If not, then we would have to postpone our trip for.
Well, I could tell you right now, based upon the congresswoman who was just on, he will not be speaker. It's
Right.
almost a guarantee that he will not be speaker.
No problem. We can still say it, and it can happen. It can happen. Who would have thought that a lot of things could happen in this world that
Yeah,
happen? So who
like Donald Trump winning.
exactly?
Right.
And could you imagine that would happen twice? You would never believe that, right? So I am not going to say that it can't happen right in here. Can't say
Stranger
that it
things
can't happen
happen. Right.
exactly.
Your
But
personal faith. Right.
but I would say that New York City, we're doing more than any city
Hmm.
to take care of the migrants who are coming to us, and we'll continue to do so as much as we can. And we're hoping that the federal government would again bring some assistance to New York City. And I think that everybody who is listening have to understand that it's going to affect everyone
Hmm.
because again, it could cost up to $12 billion, and that's billion with a B. It's not going to be an easy road ahead. We're in for a long haul if we don't get federal help.
Pastor Monroe's, the number of issues that's happening in terms of violence in our community. And I know that you are part of the 673. You started, original person who co-founded the 67 Precinct Council, and to see how it's metamorphosized into the number of pastors, number of faith-based individuals who are taking part, but yet still our violence is still happening at a large scale. Um, what is your take, the mayor's take, the clergy take, any take that you want to give, either from your position as the Facebook leader or your position as a pastor within the community?
Listen, violence is a plague. It's a disease, and we have to treat it as a disease. I believe that our community can exist without violence. I think that is something that we have to have the ideal about. We're a community that started without violence, and therefore violence was perpetrated on the people. If you look at the history of the civil rights era, the Dr. King, when he talked about the fact of having um, a, 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 a the movement, a peaceful movement, what do you call it? Nonviolent movement.
Nonviolent movement.
That was powerful. I mean, I'm not sure people understood the depth of what Dr. King was trying to do. And you had a powerful imagery of seeing how the African American experience coming out of slavery from Africa was then such a non-violent community that even when hoes and dogs were picked on us, we did not retaliate. And so some people don't understand how blacks in America today can forgive individuals when they have done so much harm to them, even today in this present moment. I remember the case of Botham Jean, who was St. Lucia native, who was killed by a police officer in Dallas, Texas, who said that she thought that she was in her apartment on the road. Killed this young man, and we see. One second here, my phone. What we saw was the fact that his younger brother in court wanted to hug the police officer, and he said that I forgive you. And people really thought that, wow, how could he do such a thing? And one of the things that people, again, don't realize is that out of the goodness and the depth of the heart of the African Americans or blacks or Caribbean, we were always taught to be in a place of forgiveness because of our spiritual upbringing and how we were dealt with in terms of coming to this country. So to see now a community that is turned on its head with this level of violence, it is something that is not a normal progression for us. And we have to think about how do we get back to a place where we are loving one another. We are bringing individuals into relationship and community. And I think it's going to take a lot of effort for us to believe and to dream in the ideal that in America, the idea of the blacks being violent is a new phenomenon. And why is that? Now, I don't equate violence to poverty, but I would say that there are some indicators that when you have poverty or divestment in community, it breeds violence. That's why the safest cities in New York City or in America, they do have less police. But what do they have a lot of? They have a lot of resources. They're impacted by support. They have access to wealth, access to jobs, access to homes or housing, access to medical support and help. So you can see that the way that you now shift us back to where we can reduce the violence has to take a community effort, but it has to take a governmental effort as well to restore and to regain the trust of our individuals by investing back into our communities. And I think that's how we're going to reduce the violence in our community. Anything else short of that, we'll continue to see the violence that we see today.
Pastor Monrose. For some reason, I'm bestowing the title of doctor on you for all shows, so I'm going to continue. Pastor Dr. Monrose, I want to thank you for joining us right here in the village to review some of the issues that are happening. And that date, again, is October 25th, and you're going to Washington with the faith-based leaders to talk about the migrant situation and to help on immigration. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all for watching, viewing, sharing, participating on the Village Radio Talk Show. This is Roger Daly, your host, joined with our co-hostess, Dr. Joanne Bryant, and congratulations again to Dr. John L. Sampson for his daughter passing the bar. So congratulations to his family. Yes. God bless each and every one of you. Enjoy all the birthdays that I missed, all the birthdays I didn't say.
Happy birthday, Auntie.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Happy belated, Mommy.
All right, God bless. Have a great weekend.
Okay. Bye.